On this episode, I have 4 different shades of green yarn, a crochet hook, and a thought in my head. So grab a beverage and perhaps your project, and let's see how this goes for me. Hello and welcome to or back to Miss Craftsalot's Lair. I am Barbie, your resident multi-crafter. Today I have a project that is D&D inspired. And when I say D&D inspired, this is one of those cutesy little guys from D&D. In one of my mini games of D&D, I was introduced to a soft little lovable guy called the Moss Kitten. And I think that they were just too cute. Now, as typically goes, for me, when I see something cute, I must have it in plushie. And if I must have it in plushie, and I have the ability to make amigurumi, why not make an amigurumi version of the cutie little that I have seen so that I can have my very own plushie of it? I was sitting pondering how I could make this. It's been one of those back burner projects for me for probably a year now, and I think I have figured out a good way to make this guy. Now, instead of making him kind of like I made our dear fat nuggets, I am not wanting to make him into a loaf cat. I would like something more kind of floppy with floppy arms and floppy legs. So I am going to spare you guys my horrendous drawing skills, and hopefully I can, you know what? No, you guys are going to get my horrible drawing skills. Hold on. So before I start off on showing you my horrendous drawing skills, I am going to show you the color palette that I will be working with today, that I have available for me to work with today. Not sure if I'm going to be using all these, but we'll see. And this is that color palette of greens that I was talking about. So here we have 4 different shades of the Loops and Threads Impeccable yarn. We have colors Deep Forest, Sphagnum, what a weird little word that is, Forest, and Fern. So these 4 colors are going to be what I have available for this color palette. I am thinking of starting with these 2 for the main kitty body parts and such. These 2 would be the add-on, like little bits and bobs that I am planning on making for this kitten. So I will clear these out of the way. I am going to be using the F crochet hook that I used in my review video. These kind of hooks just kind of hurt. Anyway, that's a side tangent squirrel moment. So we're gonna not squirrel, and we're gonna get into me drawing what I am intending on making here. I need to invest in some like markers. So I've got to use one of my old Stampin' Write markers. I don't even know if these guys will still work. We will find out. And this is me drawing out my idea. This was the initial idea, and spoiler alerts, this did not happen. However, I will continue on showing you this drawing just so you can see. Well, I did tell you that you were going to see my bad drawing skills, so here they are. I have a rough idea of how to do the bits and bots, so I am going to get to that. I am going to start off with the 3rd darkest color. This is that weird word. I know that it has a technical term. I know that it is a special word, and it is, but sphagnum. I am going to use this one first to start off with his body. I think this so this is going to be for like the details on his body. This one, which is the forest, is going to be for the majority of his body. We shall see how this works up. And so then I started off trying to find the center pull tail, and I quickly realized that this was indeed one of those skeins. This is going to be one of those skeins. Come on. And I have all of this like yarn barf. This yarn puke is on my table now. And so then I set about taking care of said yarn explosion, and I quickly figured out the problem. A skein is not supposed to have 3 ends. That could be where my problem is coming from. All of this is part of that. So I'm going to put that over there, and I'm just going to start off with this. So I'm going to start off with this bit of broken yarn. Just so that way I'm using it and I'm not tossing it aside, because, you know, yarn people don't like to waste our yarn. So in the typical crochet fashion, I'm going to start off with a magic circle and 6 single crochets, I think. How I am making these loops is I'm going to loop around my thumb and then do kind of a typical try anyway to do a typical. This is easier to do when it's a like flat piece and not a round piece. However, it's a matter of going under that loop so that your loop is coming through those two and then single crocheting. And so that's just what I will do around. So you can use whatever size, whether you want to use a thumb or a finger, a pencil or pen works, marker, anything that would hold that loop. Bigger loops can be made using like a credit card or one of your loyalty cards from a store, or just about anything, depending on how long you want your loops to be. So I tried the loops, and then it was on to frogging again. Okay, so I'm not thinking that this was the best idea, because it is kind of hard for me to keep tension, and it's going to be a very slow process to make all of these. So what I am thinking I'm going to do is rethink this. I think the other option besides the loops is to do like rug. What is it called? Latch hook. I think the other option that I could do with this project is do a latch hook type look for the mossy bits. So I think that might actually work out a little bit better than the loops. So yeah. And there's that interesting word again. Before getting started back on my project, I decided I was going to cut the tag off of this plant holder and turn it into a new yarn bowl. Look, it's the yarn explosion. one last skein, and look, doesn't it look pretty? With that all said and done, I got back to stitching, and one paw turned into 4 paws. Yay! I attached the legs by working single crochet into their stitches as part of a body stitch row. And then I tested the latch hook idea. At this time, I did think that that was going to work. However, when I tested the same stitches in the head, unfortunately, it just looked like a poorly made toupee to me. So that was out. So now we're at the part of the project that I figure that it is a good time to explain to you some of the happenings that caused that really off week for me a couple weeks back. At that time, I told you that I was processing through some news, which I was. I honestly didn't know if this particular project was going to come into reality. I decided, though, to make it when I felt I could talk about things without tearing up and blubbering so much. So I know it may sound silly to some, but I was given the information that my D&D campaign was coming to an abrupt end. This hit me hard as just the day before I had been consulting the DM on my backup character. Although most of our party has games going with other groups, this was my only game. After a horrible experience for my first attempt at playing this game, I was timid about playing again at all. I just really needed to find a DM that understood that I may not be the fastest player and I still make my fair share of mistakes. I also have my own reasons for playing my character as I do. This was the DM. That being said, since my game ended, I have resigned myself to the reality that I may just be watching and listening to gameplay and not actually playing, at least for a while, if not a lot longer than that. Hey, look, I'm stuffing the legs and putting some stuffing into the body, counting out some head stitches, and doing the last row of stitches for the body. Of course, the last step to this part of the project was to sew the back seam up. With the back all done, it was time to stitch up the head, pick an appropriate size of eye, and install them. I totally get that these are made so that they don't fall out, or they're not supposed to anyway, but wow, these could be a little easier to put together. The head got stuffed as well as the head was sewn to the rest of the body. After running a quick errand, it was on to stitching up the ears as well as the tail. The sewing together of this critter continued with me sewing on the tail, the ears, and then attempting to do that latch hook on his head. And this is where the not so great toupee came in. And then it was on to making the leaves that I decided that should adorn this cute little cat. I made a leaf each in the 3 colors that were not the main colors to the body, as well as I made 2 smaller leaves in the fern color to put under his chin and on his tail. With the little kitten all sewn together, I was just left to have to ball up the explosion yarn. And did it give me some more problems? I have been asked how I keep track of which yarns are what balls. And so this is what I do. I grab the sleeve from the particular skein of yarn and I fold it up nice and neat here with the name pointing out. And I just kind of stick it in the ball while I am taking it off of the winder. I do like to rewrap that last bit of yarn and kind of tuck it in together, that tail, so then that way it doesn't come undone. And then I weighed all 4 skeins of yarn. And now that everything is done, and so he is all done. Look at how adorable he turned out. I did mention earlier that in the video that I did decide that I was going to change up the body style. So I didn't want those floppy legs after all. They were just weren't suiting him correctly. So I changed up his style a bit. So I started off with the sphagnum color to make his little legs, and then I changed to the I have my notes on the table, so if you see me looking down. So I started with the sphagnum for his paws, and then I switched to the forest for his body and his head. His ears I made out of the sphagnum. Tail started with sphagnum and ended in the forest. I did use just a tad bit of the deep forest for one of his large leaves and his face, which kind of makes him look kind of grumpy in a way, but I don't care. I think he's cute. And then the fern I used for a large leaf on both of the small leaves, one little small leaf on his tail, one over here, kind of mimicking that tuxedo cat kind of look is why I put one there. And then I also made a sphagnum leaf as well. So then that way he had all of the colors on him. I'm super happy with how he turned out. I think he's super cute. If you think he is cute as well, my project notes are going to be on my Ko-fi, I believe is how you pronounce it. Link to that is in the description below. Also, my link tree to find me in all of my other places. And yeah, I'm super happy with him. He is going to be on my shelf. I think I'm going to be making quite a few more of these for friends and family and all that jazz. But if you did like this video, please like, share, and consider subscribing. I would love to have you here. And until next time, bye!